My
Okay, fans of the Monday Movie Club. This week, Joel chose Apt Pupil, which is number 5,959 on the Franken list. It's its 25th anniversary. It was released in 1998. I'm Frank Gaffney. With us always, Joel. I see different seasons there in the background. Thank
It
you.
is right there, yes.
And Mark Wotitzgartner has no picture. Actually, admitted to us that he only watched the movie last night. So
but there's no picture
not,
because there's no way of putting a picture of a Nazi behind me. So
not even like Tom Patrone.
Yeah, really. Put his picture up.
Hold on, I'll put Tom up.
No, that's
Tom up.
Goldfuck and Cringer.
Hello.
Morning. Annie King back in the kitchen. What makes you decide if you want to be in the kitchen or in the bedroom?
Republicans.
Usually, if someone's sleeping upstairs, then I come down here. But today it was cooler down here.
It's a hot one today.
Yeah.
You don't have central air?
No. So if I put on the AC in the little room, then it's really loud and I won't be able to hear.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Joel, what was your snarky comment when I asked what makes you decide?
Mark heard it. I got to laugh. We're moving on.
Okay.
It's probably for the best.
All right. So, Joel, why Apt Pupil?
Why not?
Briefly. Why not? Okay, a little backstory. This one is adapted from Stephen King's collection of novellas published in 1982 as different seasons. Please hold up the book. If you were a better Vanna White, you would have done that.
I'm
There's
not
4 short stories. This one, Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, The Body, which was filmed as Stand By Me, and the 4th story, which has yet to be filmed, called The Breathing Method. Okay, here's the plot. Todd Bowden, played by Brad Renfro, is a high school student studying the Holocaust who discovers that his neighbor, played by Ian McKellen, is a former Nazi SS officer who was responsible for unspeakable crimes, which we will speak about. And he's been hiding out in America. So this takes place in the
1984.
1984.
Oh, really?
Full circle. Full circle.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I read the book, but I had not seen the movie version. And if I'm remembering correctly, the movie does a pretty good job of adapting the novel, but then veers way off course at the end, but not necessarily in a bad way. We can discuss that. Ian McKellen was 60 years old at the time. He's supposed to be like 80 or something.
59.
And but he delivers a haunting performance. And he's so charming as he manipulates and ultimately schools Todd into his dangerous game of psychological warfare. Brad Renfro is 16, not quite up to the task for me. He's believable and earnest at first, but he fails to convey Todd's journey to becoming a manipulator with any real conviction for me. Didn't quite get there. And the movie was directed by Bryan Singer, the big gay elephant in the room. Okay, he does a fine job, really. There's real tense moments. The score is haunting. Cinematography is atmospheric, for sure. But he does veer off a little bit, I think, into the horror movie sensationalism. I'm not quite a big fan of that. But the big gay elephant, and, you know, we talked about this before, about separating the artist from his art. And it's a big one here because David Schwimmer, first of all, that mustache.
Oh, my God.
But it's the 80s. I had one of those as well. But the scene when Todd, Brad Renfro, says he's going to make up stuff and say that he touched him. And David Schwimmer obviously did not. I'm like, wait a minute. Is Bryan Singer saying he's the innocent and the kids are making things up about him? All right. So, and we also talked about gays grooming young boys when we watched Spotlight. Remember that? Which was about the Boston Globe uncovering the Catholic Church cover-up of that issue. And And here we have something a little similar, I think, because there was a lawsuit before the film was released. A 14-year-old extra filed a lawsuit alleging that Singer and company forced him and other extras to strip naked for the scene in the shower. And two boys who were 16 and 17 years old supported that claim. And the production crew said, it was just a mix up. They didn't know which boys were young or not, blah, blah. Anyway, they had to reshoot the scene with adult actors in the shower instead. So it's all
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, but I did say to Danielle right away, I was like, wow, this is like, why are there full-on nudity with these high school kids? Like, this should not be in this. I wasn't,
because Bryan Singer is a pervert.
Yeah.
As all gay men are.
Wait a minute.
What?
Well, may I point to a pervert right here? Hello. All right. So all of it has a little tinge of creepiness because of Bryan Singer being accused since then of having parties with underage boys. So anybody have any comment on that whole bit?
No.
Just the only thing I thought of because I really like the movie. I'll get into that later. But the part with David Schwimmer at the end, like you said, I just thought it was weak because the kid said, "I'll make stuff up," but David Schwimmer had him dead to rights. Like I would be like, I didn't do anything. I really care, and
No,
he knows that. But hold on. But Ian McKellen. So you came to me with a Nazi as your grandfather, and your parents don't seem to know. He had him. You're going to make stuff up about me. So what? Who cares? He's a guidance counselor. I'm sure that happens all the time with kids. So I found it very weak that he was like, oh, okay, then I guess I'll just be quiet.
Because right here, right in that scene, David Schwimmer came to visit him. He came to
talk to the parents. He said that right away. Where are your
they
parents?
were alone. They were alone together.
Yeah.
The problem, Mark, is that even back then we were in a society where something like that gets out, true or not, you're done. I worked at a summer camp for a number of years, and there was one year the police came to the camp and arrested another counselor for supposedly doing stuff like that. And it turned out years later that it was bullshit and made up, but his life was ruined.
I get it. I just thought the way that it was delivered, maybe it's because, as Frank said, Brad Renfro, I just didn't like the acting. I didn't like the scene. I thought it was a little bit too.
It's one of those, and we're going to have to get into spoilers anyway at some point. It's a scene that is very different from how the novella ends.
Right.
We read about that. Yeah.
And Bryan Singer felt he couldn't top what Stephen King did, so he didn't even try. I understand what he was trying.
I don't know if top is the right word. I think he just felt he couldn't really make it work.
Sure. And realizing that we're a year out from Columbine at this point. So, if it was going to work at all, it would have worked then. So
this is after Columbine, you're saying?
Before.
No, this is before Columbine.
Oh, before. Yeah. So yeah.
And,
so I think also he
Annie had something.
Oh, Annie.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, in the school system, if a kid says something against you as a teacher, adult, you're actually considered guilty until they can prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Like you're taken out of the classroom or whatever. And even if the kid comes back and says, I made it all up, it's still on your record. So if another kid chooses to lie about it, they will still see that the first one was there. So it's not even like, even if the first one was not true in any way.
That's gross.
Yeah.
It's all about protecting the kids. So I'm sorry. So the difference being Bryan Singer felt he wanted to make a bigger statement about taking that manipulation to the next level, I guess, rather than have the horror ending.
Yeah.
All right. So and we talk about also recognizing people that we know as older people, and the one here, Ann Dowd. I mean, I didn't even recognize her as Todd's mother, and now she's the Emmy-winning Anne Dowd as Aunt Lydia in The Handmaid's Tale 40 years later. So I didn't even recognize her until it said her name in the credits. I was like, Anne Dowd, who's she? All right. So 3 stars for me. As Stephen King adaptations go, this is one of the better ones, I think. And there are certainly a lot of crap ones underneath it, but it's not as good as the other 2 adaptations from this very collection, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
But Joel, back to the novel. I again, I think I read it, and maybe I missed it in the movie, but does Dusendorf, whatever his name is, does he have a lampshade made out of human skin? Was that in the novel, or am I misremembering it?
I don't remember from. It's definitely not in the movie. It's been a while since I've read the novel. I don't remember it being in there. But that doesn't mean it's not. I remember the big differences between the novel and the movie are essentially the length of time. The book takes place over the course of a few years, whereas the movie kind of condenses everything into that his senior year of high school.
Yeah, I guess that would have been a little hard to watch him grow up.
Well, it was not just that. It's once in the book, once they've made that kind of reverse pact where he's like, well, I put this thing in the safe deposit box and you've got this.
Right.
So, even though both are kind of bullshit in the book, they both start as they're separating, they're both separately killing homeless people as like recreation to get whatever is in their system out after their parasitic relationship develops.
So here Todd is more wholesome as we begin, but you're saying
he's technically more wholesome in the movie in the sense that it's Dusander who kills the homeless guy in his house, and Todd comes by to help him once he's having the heart attack. That all happens in the book, but that's the last murder. In the movie, it's just the only one.
The kid's still a psychopathic shit, though. I mean, even though he hasn't killed in the movie,
it's a lot worse in the book. I mean, he's having nightmares about you have that one brief scene in the car with the girlfriend where he's having problems, getting an erection and stuff. And in the book, it's because she's Jewish and he's thinking he can't actually, he couldn't actually do it with a Jewish girl because, he's supposed to hate them. And there's a lot more depth to his depravity in the book than there is in the movie. And I think the movie handles it very well by condensing it. You still get the feel of things. So anyway.
Well, I like that Todd had a bigger arc, I guess. And what's his name? Dusendorf? He Tesseract?
Yeah. Call him Mr. Tesseract, he's fine.
That he kind of, Todd was titillated by the whole Nazi thing, which I thought was a bigger reveal, but I guess it wasn't because it was right up front. Because maybe I'm misremembering again. In the book, he just was this nice old German guy. I didn't think at the beginning he even suspected that he was a Nazi. And then it was like, he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
But anyway.
A bit more of a reveal in the book than there is in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it opens with the kid learning about the Holocaust, and it goes right to Tesseract.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, I thought so too, because I did see this way back 20 something years ago, and I didn't have much memory of it. And I was surprised that he came out of the, right away, just, I know who you are. Yeah. I thought it was going to be more of a, let me get to know this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I guess that's the way it is in the book. Yeah, but so I really did like that he was intrigued by it, and then he was influenced by it.
Yeah.
And then till he I guess accessed the darker sides that he was already had in his head. And then the novel ends up with him coming to school and shooting everybody.
He in the novel, he actually, after he stops killing homeless people, he starts because he realizes it's too problematic.
Is he feeding the homeless people to plants?
No. He basically goes up to like this little perch over the highway and starts shooting at cars just for fun, because kids do that.
As you do.
Yeah,
It's fine.
and so what happens at the end of the book is he kills his guidance counselor and then goes up to that perch and just starts, shooting people from there. And the book basically it ends with, I think he winds up killing like five or six people before, and it takes like 5 hours for the police to kill him. So something to that effect.
Well, isn't it creepier that he goes on?
Yes, I think it is creepier in the film.
Yeah.
That it's I think Fincher and Fincher. Wow, no, confusing my Bryan Singer. Yeah, wow, I'm tired. I think Singer and the screenwriter, decided that it would be creepier if Todd is still alive and still being manipulative in a way.
And bringing it to the next generation.
Yeah,
that's the perfect thing.
Yeah.
So maybe that is a better ending than Stephen King came up with.
It's not as drastic and devastating as the differences between the end of The Mist.
All right, we're not sidetracking, Joel.
Sorry, I had to bring that up though.
All right,
I missed that joke.
All right, Joel. So do you think this is a good adaptation?
Yes, I think it's a very good adaptation of a Stephen King story. It's one of his better stories. It's one of the better adaptations. I'll give Brad Renfro a little more credit than you will, just because I think his innocence of the acting technique helps him a little bit with some of what's going on.
And that's a whole tragedy right there. He died at 25, drug addicted.
Part of me thinks how much of like diving into this material fucked him up.
I think, like Todd, it was in the back there, and it just got
worse. Yeah,
and nobody helped him.
It is a very sad and tragic ending to a young life.
Because I was sort of like, what happened to him? I don't remember seeing him in anything else.
Yeah.
Well, that's why.
Yeah. Anyway, I would agree with you. It's a 3-star movie. So.
Okay. Thanks for making us watch a 3-star movie.
Yeah. 3-star movies are still good. It'd be a 4-star movie.
4-star movies.
It would be a 4-star movie if we were properly using a 5-star review.
Annie King, you're a Stephen King fan, aren't you?
I am, and I know I've read the book, but I could not remember the story at all. Oh. Even while watching the movie, I was like, and I tried to get the book, but issues with my library card, so never mind. But I never watched the movie because Stephen King movies are generally not good, right? So I would
say you are correct in that assessment.
Yeah, it didn't actually even cross my radar. I didn't even know there was this movie. So, but I thought it was good, but I didn't feel like there was, and maybe subconsciously I'm remembering a story, but I really don't. But that there wasn't enough maybe to like keep it going. So maybe it's because it was condensed or whatever that I felt that. And I felt it was like one of those movies that kind of make you talk about things, like why people do what they do. Yeah. And that was, what a good movie should do is have you talk about it.
Yeah, I think definitely they were trying to make it a more thoughtful, film.
Yes, but I also felt like things maybe like developed and I'm like, where did that come from kind of thing, like I thought when he was telling him to march and stuff and you could see him like really like going back to like what it was like. I thought that was really cool, very powerful and stuff. So other than that, like then I thought like, oh, it was so easy for Todd to like go back to like playing basketball and baseball and dating the girl and stuff that, maybe he forgot all about it, but then like that ending was like he really learned what he needed to learn to get through.
Yeah.
his life, I guess. But so then, like, if he used the grandfather story to not get in trouble with his parents and everything, but then, like, I didn't think it would get further. Like, it didn't seem like as evil as that last scene with David Schwimmer. It was just like a kid trying to get out of getting.
Well, remember, he didn't come up with that. The old man did.
Right,
So
and he kind of went along with it,
because he had to, which was very smart in Ian McKellen's part to get him out of his hair. Yeah.
Yeah, he's flipping things back on him. It's like, all right, you've taken control of my life. I'm going to take control of your life. And
yeah, I like that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just felt like I didn't know where that last part was coming from. Like, he seemed to have like given it up, even though like he cleaned up the basement and everything. It was fine. I didn't think it was anything spectacular. I would go with a 3.
Okay.
I wouldn't watch it again, probably.
No. And I know you read Stephen King.
I was an obsessive fan, all thanks to Ms. Annie King.
I think you're the one who made me read Stephen King to begin with.
I don't remember you reading any books, honestly. I don't mean that as a jerky thing. I remember you even have said to me, I don't read.
Back in the day when we worked in the bagel store, I brought books with me all the time because I was on the bus.
Yeah, but those had pictures in it, Frank.
So I did read.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I made a movie in film class of Christine. Annie had me, I think it was Cujo that I read first, and then I would carry all his books on the subway to school.
That was very punny of you.
What did I say that was punny?
You carry all the books.
Up until maybe like the late 90s, I was obsessive, and now I've got a whole shitload of his books I need to read. And
wait a minute. So can we put the Amy Goldman version of Christine on our list for next year?
Oh God, I wish. It was on Super 8.
Right.
It was awful. I don't have
Nobody has it.
No. And I also went to the library because, as I explained last week, you all know I lent my 9 Different Seasons book out and never got it back. So on Wednesday went to the library online, and they had one copy in my library of Different Seasons, and it said, we'll let you know when it's available. And I never heard back. And I was not walking over a mile each way in this weather to get
uphill in snow.
Uphill in snow, sweating my ass off. So I didn't get to reread it. I definitely remember reading it. I don't think I ever saw the movie, and I didn't remember anything except about a knot. So the only couple of notes I took was who had David Schwimmer as a mustachioed guidance counselor on their bingo card. That shocked me. And I thought he did a really good job.
Yes, and he was in Band of Brothers. He was in a lot of things while he was doing Friends, so I give him credit for that.
Yeah. And completely separating the characters.
Although it's interesting, originally Kevin Pollak was supposed to play that part. And I can't, at this point, I was like, I can't picture that. I think David Schwimmer put the right amount of, nerdiness to the part that I don't think Kevin Pollak could have brought.
Sure. I could have done without, we'll call him Mr. Tesseract now. I could have done without Tesseract starting to masturbate while looking at himself in the Nazi uniform in the mirror. That I was very I don't know why that creeped me out. Well, I know why that creeped me out.
Yeah, but he found it arousing.
I know. It really
and it's so easy to get a Nazi uniform on the internet.
Yeah, sure.
1998.
A Halloween shop, whatever you call it store.
Yeah.
It really killed me that Arthur would be in the hospital and his roommate just happened to be a Holocaust survivor and happened to recognize Arthur. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, wait a second. There were a lot more of them around at that point.
1984.
Yes, it's 1984.
You happen to be in the room with this one guy in the
right. Contrived. We'll accept that.
Yeah. And then I threw my remote when the guy walked up to Arthur and went, I mean, come on, and he did it twice. I hate that. That's as bad as eating like this in a movie.
You eat like that in real life.
Shut up. But those are the only notes I took. I was enjoying it. I'm even surprised at how much you guys liked it, especially Mark, when you said I was not an apt pupil. I didn't take notes. I was like, oh, he hated it. And I'm actually gonna give it 3.25 stars. I liked it.
Hi, Mark. Since
Yeah.
it's freshest in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this when it came out on a Blockbuster
did?
night at a
Wow.
well, not in the theater, but at a friend's house.
Right.
We used to get movies all the time, and I remember not really liking it, not really appreciating it. I wasn't as mature and sophisticated, but I think, as Annie said, I mean, I think that the marching scene is probably like it's on all the trailers. I would imagine that was definitely burned in my mind, but not anything else. I thought Ian McKellen was fantastic. Like this was like the best thing he's ever done. I loved it, and I wonder it was better than playing Gandalf. I mean, as an actor.
Gods and Monsters is really
Oh,
I never saw.
good one.
It sounds bad.
Oh.
And I wonder as an actor if because again, so this was 1998, and Bryan Singer in 2000 made my movie, The X-Men. That's one of my favorites, and Ian McKellen was in it along with Todd's dad was a senator, and even the Holocaust victim in the gas chamber victim was in X-Men too. I could see that Bryan Singer definitely brings along a lot of the same people, but he went from this to playing a Holocaust victim as Magneto, and I wonder if that was, as you guys are all actors and stuff, if that's I don't know if using the word fun is appropriate, but a nice arc to your, I got to play this part and now I play the opposite.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Bryan Singer being gay and Ian McKellen being gay, I'm sure that was part of how they related to each other too. He cast gays.
Yeah, but I think it's more like Tarantino bringing along a lot of the same actors to a lot of the future films. I saw, that's all. I thought it was a great battle of wills, the cat and mouse between the two main guys. Sorry, I didn't have time to organize my notes. I just wrote it up last night. And it was much more powerful watching it now. I didn't really, not that I didn't care, but I thought just watching it the first time didn't really count for me.
Anybody else want to say how mature and sophisticated he is now?
Exactly. And I'm not, it's funny, I'm not a Stephen King fan. I've never read one book. I never read one sentence of his. Yeah, exactly. But having said that, so I know everyone's saying that the movies are not as good, and I guess that's pretty much true of most novels, I guess. But I grew up with Stand By Me. I mean, I was 10 years old when the movie came out. That was my movie, but I've also seen Carrie and Cujo and all that stuff. And I do enjoy it, and I enjoy him. There's always going to be something with him. It's not always just basic plain writing, and making this kid. I found him to be worse than Dusander. Like he was like a true psychopath, which is funny because toward the end, when Ian McKellen turned the tables on him, Danielle was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Look who you're cheering for! Don't do that." Anyway, that's really it. We both thoroughly enjoyed it. It's going to be 3.25 for us too. I was surprised that it was that high.
Well, I mean, I think the big thing about reading a Stephen King novel is that he's such a good writer in the description of things and in the plotting of things. It's just there's so much more.
Yeah, there's so much a movie can't convey from what he writes.
Yeah. Because he's such a good writer.
But it's not just that. I think there's this misnomer about King in the sense that all he writes is horror, and he doesn't. I mean, there's a lot more to his writing than that. And I think Stephen King movies are crap. Yeah, the crap ones are crap, but they're based on stories that shouldn't have been made into movies to begin with, because most of the crap ones are short stories that are expanded to feature length. If you think about the good Stephen King movies, they're based on his better books.
Wasn't there also for a very long time where he would sell the rights for $1?
Well, what he would do that was to
upcoming
students and up and coming filmmakers. I mean, Frank Darabont, who did The Shawshank Redemption, was one of the very first Dollar Babies, as they're called, and you know, he did a short film based on The Woman in the Room, and it's a great little short film. Unfortunately, you know, I think it's probably up on YouTube, but I don't think there are good copies of it because it was only ever released on VHS. Because one of the problems with the Dollar Babies is you are not allowed to make money off the movies. You're only allowed to make them for festivals or your you know, classroom.
I thought it was a general rule.
No.
All right. Well, so is this our first Stephen King?
No, Shawshank.
Shawshank.
Oh, of course.
That's
All right.
the only reason we're doing this one.
Is it? So
Yeah.
then next year we're doing
It's
the
on
other
the
one?
list.
Stand by
Stand By
Me.
Me.
The Green
All right,
Mile.
What?
The Green Mile.
Add it to your list, Annie.
It is on my list.
Okay.
All right. So At Pupil is available on Prime, which is where we watched it. And you could also rent it if you don't subscribe. What is it called?
Prime.
Prime Video.
Is that that's the subscription?
Yeah.
Prime?
Well, as my Italian in-laws call it, Primo.
Primo. It's $3.99, or get it from the library, but you can't get the book, you know, obviously. Next week, little lighter fare. Annie is up with the original Toy Story from 1995.
Yay.
Ooh,
And
nice.
that, of course, is on Disney Plus, or you could rent it from Prime for $3.79. That's it. I'm Frank Gaffney. Go watch a movie.
I'm also with you.